It's 6:47 a.m., and the frost hasn't melted off the glass yet. My breath fogs the inside of this booth, and the blinking red light above the console still flickers like it's doing me a favor by staying on. If you can hear me right now, anywhere in Ohio, or beyond that if the winds are kind, you're tuned to 94.6 FM, The Signal. My name's Paul Sanders. I used to do traffic updates in the morning and high school football play-by-plays on Friday nights. Now I just sit here, alone, and talk to what's left of the world. This is day 88. Day 88 of a war we didn't start, couldn't stop, and don't really understand anymore. Outside the studio, the power lines hang like forgotten ropes. No buzz, no hum, just silence. The kind you feel more than hear. The only reason this broadcast is still up is because of a gas-powered generator we salvaged from a dental office 2 blocks over. That and some crossed fingers. It's rigged to run a few hours at a time, and we're down to the last jerry can of fuel. After that, I'll be speaking into a dead mic, which I guess I already am, depending on how far this signal gets now that the towers are half fried and the repeaters stopped syncing. Subscribe for more stories and to support the production of this broadcast. The air's still but sharp. We're just below freezing this morning, maybe 30 degrees or so. It hasn't snowed since last week's missile strike stirred the skies, but the ash is still coming down soft, like gray powder dusting the sidewalks and the tops of ruined cars. When it lands on your skin, it smells like plastic and burnt metal. Every time I step outside, it coats the inside of my nose. We try to pretend it's just snow. That helps sometimes. Anyway, if you're listening, I want you to know I'm still here, still alive, still broadcasting. I've got a journal from the last few days I'm going to read from in a bit. But first, let me say this loud and clear. Columbus is still standing. Not much of it, but parts. East Side is gone, flattened during the second wave of strikes, but downtown's still mostly intact if you don't count the windows or the people. There's a few of us holed up in the old Civic Center, busted walls, no heat, but we've got thick blankets and some of the National Guard's rations. We cook on barrel fires in the hallways. The bathrooms don't work, so we dug trenches outside. It's not much, but it's a hell of a lot more than nothing. I remember when this started. Not the first missile, not the big televised speeches. That's not when it began, not really. I think it started with the silences. First, the news stopped giving full reports. Then the internet slowed to a crawl, like it was gasping for air. Then the cell towers died one by one, until we were left with just the hum of our own thoughts, and that uneasy feeling that something enormous was happening behind the curtain. It was hard to tell who hit who first. The blame shifted every 12 hours. Beijing blamed Washington. Washington blamed Tehran. Tel Aviv went dark within the first 24 hours. I remember watching it on the old newsroom TV, smoke rising over a city that had already seen too many wars. Then came the cyber attacks, power plants offline, water systems corrupted, planes grounded without warning. Hospitals lost their grid and backup power failed. And then came the missiles. We haven't seen one in the sky for a few days now, which might mean we're in the eye of the storm, or just not worth the payload anymore. The last one struck west of us, near Dayton. Folks who made it out said the sky turned green just before it hit, like lightning before a tornado. They said their hair stood up and their teeth ached like they were full of bees. That's radiation sickness setting in, I think. We've got iodine tablets, a few packs left. We ration them for the kids and anyone who shows signs of vomiting or confusion. Everyone else? Well, we just hope. I've gotten word, scratchy transmissions through the emergency bands, that other cities are in worse shape. Chicago's in martial law lockdown, or at least it was 2 weeks ago before they stopped transmitting. Boston's been hit with an electromagnetic pulse, wiped their entire grid. New York's a ghost zone, not from bombs, just from fear. People fled. Some say it was strategic retreat. Others say they just gave up. I don't know what to believe anymore. The government doesn't talk to us, and the local guard unit that used to patrol here left after the Cincinnati corridor collapsed. We haven't seen a uniform in over 20 days. There's talk around the fire each night, those of us still breathing, about what this war really is. Some say it's not about land or oil or flags. They say it's about systems, dependency. That someone realized the real weapon isn't bombs. It's breaking the machine that makes civilization feel safe. You don't need to level cities when you can starve them, blind them, isolate them. Just take the power away, and people become animals. I've seen it. We all have. 3 nights ago, a family tried to break into our compound. Father, mother, 2 kids. They were desperate, not violent, not at first, just hungry, cold. The father had a crowbar and screamed that he didn't want to hurt anyone, he just wanted food. One of our guys, Miguel, raised his rifle and warned him off. The mother started crying, said their youngest hadn't eaten in 3 days. It was raining ash. The wind howled, the lights flickered, and the kids were barefoot. We gave them 2 cans of soup and a blanket. That's all we could spare. I watched them disappear into the dark, toward the ruins of the old train yard. Haven't seen them since. I don't know what kind of world this is anymore, but I do know this. It's not over. Not yet. As long as we're alive, breathing, and broadcasting, we have a shot. Maybe not at victory, whatever that even means, but at survival, at memory, at dignity. I'll be back in a few minutes to read from my notes, some updates from nearby cities and what's happening along the I-70 corridor. For now, stay close. Conserve your power. Don't trust voices over the emergency bands unless you hear this frequency ID, 94.6 the signal. If I'm still talking, then hope's still alive. All right. I'm back. If the generator cuts, I'll kick it back on. If I go quiet, just wait a bit. I always come back. Now, I said I'd give you a rundown of what we're hearing from the I-70 corridor. That's the stretch running east-west. Used to be one of the main arteries of the country. It's a mess now. The roads are littered with burned-out sedans, overturned semis, buses full of skeleton seats. And every so often, if you walk it, you'll see the outlines of people who didn't make it out before the blasts. Not from direct hits, just from the fallout, the cold, the hunger, the silence. Last week, one of our scouts, Sam, walked out toward the old truck stop near Hebron. Said it was dead quiet, not even birds anymore. But the gas pumps were intact, and someone had rigged a siphon line from the underground tank. Smart, but desperate. He followed the trail, saw footprints. Barefoot. That's become a pattern lately. People ditching shoes for silence or because they just don't care anymore. You see that enough? You start wondering what it means when a man would rather feel gravel tear his skin than go on feeling nothing at all. Anyway, Sam followed the trail west and found a group, 8 or 9 of them. Looked like they were once a family, now just a cluster of survival. He said they'd built a shelter out of sheet metal and cinder blocks near the remains of a Wendy's. One woman had a portable radio, battery-powered. She'd found our signal, and she'd been tuning in every morning. listening in the dark while feeding her kid boiled rainwater and pieces of squirrel meat. She told Sam something that's been eating at me since. Said she didn't think the war was ever meant to be won. She said maybe it was designed to break the habit of being human. Said that once the systems fell, the instincts would take over. And maybe that's what some government or some alliance wanted. People reverting, becoming less complex, more controllable. You hear something like that from someone who's half-starved and sleeping in rubble, and it rattles you. But what if she's right? Because what I've seen these past 88 days, it's not just destruction, it's unraveling. The fabric of society didn't just tear, it dissolved. We used to joke about how people couldn't live without their phones. Now people can't live without antibiotics, without insulin, without dialysis machines or refrigerated blood or clean needles. And all those things? Gone. Not just in short supply. Gone. We lost our last working defibrillator 3 days ago, fried in a power surge when a homemade generator sparked out. The man we were trying to save, Jacob, he was 62, diabetic, got pneumonia from drinking river water. We tried to restart his heart, but nothing worked. He died in the main hall, wrapped in 3 layers of wool and humming something under his breath. His wife kept saying, "It wasn't even the bombs." I've got a theory that's been floating in my head these last few weeks. It's not original. I think others have whispered it before me. But I've been too afraid to say it out loud. What if this isn't about us fighting another country? What if this is about the world fighting us? Humanity, I mean. What if we broke something too big to fix, and the world hit back with droughts and quakes and viruses and finally, war? A global culling dressed up in politics and alliances and flags. I don't know. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm just talking to myself too much. We had a girl here yesterday, maybe 19, who told me about the first strikes on Toronto. She'd been there visiting her cousin when the air sirens screamed. She said she thought it was a drill until the windows shattered. Said the sky cracked open like an egg, and something black poured out. Not smoke, but silence. She called it the noise of everything ending, and I knew exactly what she meant. Here's what I can confirm right now, in case you're out there, hungry for real updates. Cleveland is gone. Multiple detonations, nuclear, possibly tactical, according to the haze readings we're seeing and the burns reported by people traveling south from the blast zone. Fallout has reached parts of Mansfield and Newark. Iodine stockpiles are running low. Avoid traveling north. Indianapolis is overrun, not with bombs, people, refugees, starving, desperate, broken. The local militia there has closed off most main roads with makeshift blockades. They're turning people away, sometimes at gunpoint. Pittsburgh was hit by a grid weapon. No lights, no electronics, no cars. They're using hand-cranked radios and old diesel rigs. One ham operator said they've started using horses again, pulling wagons through old snow. Lexington, Kentucky, is holding out. Don't ask me how. They had a working hydroelectric plant and somehow kept a microgrid going. They're broadcasting at 1370 a.m. with survival guides, water reports, and supply drops. If you're in range, tune in. And for here, Columbus, we're quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. I walked downtown 3 nights ago with Kara and Micah. We scavenged an old food warehouse. Empty, but there were signs people had been through. Burn marks, makeshift beds in the aisles, scrawled prayers on the loading dock in charcoal. One read, "Please let the sun come back," and mean something. That one hit me hard. You know, I used to think that if World War III ever came, it'd be loud. Explosions, sirens, jets overhead, speeches from podiums. But it's not like that. It's long stretches of silence, broken by gunshots that echo for miles. It's seeing someone across a field and not knowing if they'll run toward you or at you. It's the slow realization that help isn't coming, that no one's in charge anymore, that all the flags, all the borders, all the pride, none of it stops cold or hunger or loneliness. And loneliness, that's the real killer. Some of you out there, I know you're alone. Maybe you've lost your group. Maybe you chose the road by yourself. I just want to say this. Don't go too quiet. Don't stop talking. Even if it's just to yourself, or to the trees, or to the wind. Make noise. Remember your own voice. That's what keeps the fire lit. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Not just the broadcast. The generator's loud and burns fuel like crazy. But I mean me. My mind. My memory. My will. Some nights I stare at this console and forget how I even got here. I touch the mic and wonder what it's for. Then I remember someone might be listening. Just one person. Maybe a kid. Maybe an old man. Maybe someone thinking about ending it and looking for a reason not to. If you're that person, this is your reason. I don't know your name, or where you are, or how many wounds you've taken. But I do know you're breathing. You're alive. And that's the only currency that still matters in this broken world. I've got to shut the generator off for a bit. Conserve fuel. I'll be back on this frequency, 94.6 FM, at sunset, if the sky's still holding and the signal can punch through. If I'm not here, it just means I'm moving. Stay warm. Stay sharp. Stay human. We're still here. It's 5:14 p.m., or something close. The skies turn that bruised color again, yellow bleeding into purple, fading at the edges like a week-old wound. It's colder now than it was this morning. We're burning pages from medical journals in a rusted trash can just to keep our hands warm. Pages that used to teach people how to save lives. Now they just keep fingers from going numb. That's the state of things. Knowledge turned to kindling. You're still tuned to 94.6 FM, the signal. If it's your first time hearing this, I'm Paul Sanders. This is not a show. It's not a program. This is a lifeline. This is my voice trying to make its way across the dead air of a dying world. I'm holed up inside what used to be the city's emergency broadcast center. One room, no windows, concrete walls, one flickering bulb dangling above the booth like a bad joke. There's no schedule anymore. Time's not what it used to be. We measure days by how many people didn't come back, by how much food we have left, by whether the sky glows the wrong color at night. I spent most of the afternoon sorting through the remains of the police substation on 4th. That place was hit hard. Looked like a rocket tore through the west wall and left behind this perfect crater, like someone scooped the world out with a spoon. There were shells everywhere, brass casings, not food, weapons. Riot gear melted into the tile, blood smears but no bodies, either dragged out or incinerated in the blast. But there was one room still intact, a holding cell. Inside it, this makes no sense, was a man, still alive, curled up in the corner like a child, hugging a Bible that looked older than he was. His name was Curtis. Said he'd been locked in there for over a week. No food, just rainwater leaking through the ceiling. He kept talking about judgment and the third horn. I don't know what that means. Maybe something biblical. Maybe just madness. We gave him food, bandaged his ankle. He didn't ask for more, just sat there, whispering verses under his breath. Kara said we should leave him behind, but I couldn't do it. So now he's here, in the shelter, still praying. Maybe that's all some people have left. I've been thinking a lot about prayers lately. Not the kind you say out loud, not the bedtime ones or the ones people used to post on social media during school shootings and hurricanes. Those scripted little sound bites that made people feel helpful. I'm talking about the real kind. The kind that happen deep in your ribs when you're curled in the dark and your teeth are chattering and you don't even know who you're praying to anymore. That kind. I had one of those this morning. When I woke up and saw the sky wasn't red. When I stepped outside and didn't hear sirens. Just wind. Just the crack of frost under my boots. I prayed silently that today wouldn't be the day we lost someone else. We almost did. Micah went out alone, looking for Diesel. He shouldn't have. We've all agreed, 2 minimum on any run. But he said he had a lead and slipped out while we were asleep. 4 hours later, he limped back in, arm bleeding, coat torn. He'd been jumped near the overpass by 3 men wearing torn uniforms. Not military, not police, just men playing dress-up. That's becoming common now. People pretending to be something official. They beat him, took his bag, didn't kill him. That's the new mercy. Leaving people alive because bullets are worth more than blood now. Micah's got a cracked rib. No hospital, no ambulance. Just pain and silence. Kara stitched him up using a needle boiled in rainwater. We gave him a ration pack and half a morphine tab from the dwindling supply we found in the dentist's office. He's resting now. But I can tell. Something in him changed. You can see it in people after they've been hurt. Something behind the eyes. The shine dulls. The voice goes quieter. They walk slower, even when they're not limping. Like something inside them gave up walking fast because they're no longer rushing toward anything. I think that's what this war really does. Not just the bombs, or the hunger, or the collapse. It breaks the compass inside people. Makes them forget where forward even is. But we're still trying. Tonight we're setting up a signal reflector on the roof. Old scrap metal, twisted into a dish, connected to a salvaged military antenna. If we're lucky, it'll boost the broadcast range. Maybe someone in Kentucky will hear us. Maybe someone in what's left of Detroit. That's all we've got now, maybes. I've been collecting stories. From travelers, from people passing through. It helps. Gives shape to the world beyond these walls. I want to share one now. There's a man named Edgar, used to work at a wastewater plant in Indianapolis. After the second wave of strikes, most of the city's power grid collapsed, but the water kept flowing for a while because Edgar stayed behind, alone. Every day he'd walk to the plant, fire up the generators, clean the filters. He said, as long as water runs, there's something left worth saving. He kept it going for 17 days. 17 days of war, until raiders found the place. Not soldiers, just desperate people. They tied him up, looted the facility, and set it on fire when they couldn't understand how the systems worked. He watched the flames take everything he'd protected. And still, he made it out. Walked 70 miles on foot. Got picked up by a convoy heading toward Athens. They said he didn't talk much, but when he did, he'd repeat that same line. As long as water runs. We need people like Edgar. People who keep pushing levers and flipping switches, not because anyone told them to, but because something inside them refuses to let the lights die without a fight. We've got a woman here, Naomi. She used to be a welder. Big hands, cracked knuckles, scars from years of sparks. She built a wood stove from a broken engine block, keeps the whole north wing warm. She smiles like it's no big deal, but I know better. When the lights go out, it's not the politicians or generals who matter. It's the welders, the plumbers, the teachers, the cooks, the janitors, the people who keep the machinery of living turning. They're the real spine of the world. I want to say something to anyone still holed up in their home, waiting. If you're waiting for things to go back to normal, stop. That world's gone. I don't say that to break you. I say it so you can stop looking over your shoulder for something that isn't coming. Start looking forward. Make something new. Start a garden, even if it's in a plastic bin under a skylight. Collect rainwater. Learn how to clean a wound. Teach your kids how to make fire with their hands. Remember stories. Sing songs. Hold on to names. These things matter. They're the glue. I don't know what comes next. Maybe nothing. Maybe more bombs. Maybe worse. But I do know this. There will be another morning. Whether or not we're here to see it, that's up to us. I'll be back at dawn. If the generator holds. If the signal makes it. If I'm still breathing. If not, someone else pick up the mic. Keep the signal alive. It's just past 3 a.m., the kind of hour where even the dark feels heavy. The signal's running low power to conserve fuel, but I'm still here. If you're listening, this is Paul Sanders broadcasting from what's left of 94.6 FM, The Signal. I haven't slept. The cold in here is a different kind of cold, like it's not just in the air, but underneath your skin. I tried to rest earlier, but I kept waking up. Dreams of noise and silence at the same time. There's something about war that gets into your bones. Not just the fear, the rhythm. You start to measure time in different ways, by the breaks in gunfire, the distant thud of something falling that you hope isn't a building, the shouts you hear echoing through dead neighborhoods, followed by nothing. Earlier tonight, we lost the broadcast tower for the north side. Wind took it. Or maybe something worse. Hard to tell these days. Anything can happen in the dark. A few of us went out to salvage what we could. Kara, Naomi, me. That side of the city's quiet now. Buildings frozen mid-collapse. Streetlights hanging like ghosts. No power for blocks. We passed a bus turned sideways across the street, rust crawling up its sides like vines. Inside we found bodies, 7 of them slumped in the seats, still strapped in, like they were waiting to go somewhere. No signs of violence, just stillness. They died holding each other. We said nothing. Naomi pulled a blanket over a little boy's face. Then we moved on. The stories I'm telling you now aren't entertainment. They're not radio filler. They're breadcrumbs, markers. I speak them out loud so they don't get buried in rubble with everything else. If you're alive and you're listening, remember these names. Edgar, Naomi, Micah, Curtis. They are still here. And that matters. You might think voices don't matter anymore. You might think the world is too far gone to care. But I don't buy that. Not yet. I don't know who started this war. I don't even know if it was one side, or if it was all of them tumbling into each other. Stupid and proud, like kids with matches in a dry field. But I do know that the people paying the price aren't the ones who started it. It's the people who just wanted to work and eat and raise their kids and have a damn weekend once in a while. And now those people are digging holes for fire pits and burning couch cushions to keep their kids alive through the night. I've been trying to track what's happening beyond Ohio. It's patchy. The long-wave receivers only pick up fragments, and most of the satellites went dark weeks ago. But I've been charting what I can. Here's what I know. St. Louis is split in half. One half is under military occupation. The other half has declared itself autonomous. They're calling it the Free Zone. I don't know what that means. Kansas City's flooding. Some say it's from bomb damage to the levees. Others say someone opened the floodgates on purpose to drown a refugee convoy trying to get in. I pray that isn't true. Atlanta's signal went dead 5 days ago. No word since. That's not good. There's faint chatter from parts of New Mexico and Colorado, people broadcasting survival tips, signal codes, and even music. One woman, calls herself Penny, sings lullabies over AM radio every night. I caught her frequency once, 2 nights ago. She was singing something old. Shenandoah, I think. I don't know why, but it stopped me cold. I sat there, alone in this booth, and cried for 10 minutes straight. Music still matters. Memory still matters. And maybe that's why I keep talking. There are rumors of a Western convoy, civilian-led, moving west from the Smoky Mountains. They're avoiding highways, traveling by night, hiding in barns and basements by day. They've got kids with them, dozens, some orphaned, some just separated. They're headed toward what's left of Denver. Why Denver? I don't know. Maybe just because it's high ground. We tried to send them a signal, let them know they're not alone. I don't know if it reached. The signal repeaters out that way are unreliable, and the sky's been thick with interference lately. Oh, that's something I should mention. There's this hum that comes and goes in the early mornings, around 4 or 5 a.m. Low frequency. You can't always hear it with your ears, but you feel it in your chest, like your ribs are trying to remember a song they never learned. Some say it's leftover EM radiation from the pulse weapons. Others say it's the sound of something big. Satellite arrays, power redirection, maybe even HAARP, if you believe in that sort of thing. Me? I don't know what it is, but it makes the birds stop singing, and that's enough to keep me awake. We're rationing water now, not because we're out, but because the filtration unit is failing. We built it from gravel and charcoal and sand. It works, sort of, but it clogs easy. And the last time we tried boiling river water without it, 3 people got sick. 1 didn't make it. We've got a kid here. His name's Tyler, 11 years old. Lost his parents in the Dayton evacuation. Came in with a rescue crew 2 weeks ago. Doesn't talk much. But he drew a map in chalk on the wall the other day. Said it was where his dad hid the family supplies. He pointed to a neighborhood we haven't scouted yet. Southwest, near the river. So tomorrow, we're sending a team out. 3 people. Naomi, Kara, and one of the new guys, Ben, ex-firefighter. Tough, but steady. They'll take the map. If Tyler's right, it might mean food, medicine, maybe even tools. Or it might mean nothing. But we've got to try. That's the lesson of day 88. You keep trying. Even when the odds are garbage. Even when your hands shake and your voice cracks and your heart doesn't feel like it belongs to you anymore. You keep trying. I'm going to sign off soon. Save the fuel. We'll be back up at first light. If you're tuning in for the first time, write this down. Frequency, 94.6 FM. Location, Columbus, Ohio. Call sign, the signal. If you've got a radio, keep it charged. Solar, crank, whatever you've got. Check this frequency twice a day. We'll share everything we know. Weather patterns, survivor movements, safe zones, dangerous routes. If you're out there and you're scared, so am I. If you're alone, so are we. But not if we keep talking. Not if we keep listening. Hold on. The night's not forever. It's just after 7 a.m. The sky is pale orange, but it's not sunrise. That's the color of the upper atmosphere when the jet stream drags chemical particulates across the sky like streaks of rust on glass. You can see it, how the sun doesn't rise anymore so much as it stumbles in, like it's just as tired as we are. It took me a while to figure that out. Why mornings feel so wrong now? It's not just the quiet or the smoke. It's the way the light doesn't feel like it belongs. This is Paul Sanders. You're listening to 94.6 FM, The Signal, broadcasting from the broken center of what used to be Columbus, Ohio. There are still buildings standing, still streets with names, still people walking them, heads down, shoulders forward, like they're pushing against something invisible. And maybe they are. If you're just now tuning in, welcome. I've been keeping this frequency alive for 88 days since the global war began, if you can even call it a war anymore. There's no front lines, no uniforms, no victories, just systems collapsing one after another. You don't notice at first, not until the supermarket closes without explanation, not until the internet goes dark and your phone says no signal and stays that way, not until you see the first city vanish in the distance, replaced by smoke. That's how it happened here, one layer at a time, like skin peeling off. First the news got quiet, then the power grid blinked, then the sirens came. Day 88 feels heavy, like we're past the middle but nowhere near the end. The things we've been doing to survive, they're not temporary anymore. They're just life now. We sent the crew out early this morning. Naomi, Kara, Ben. Southbound on foot, following that chalk map the kid drew. They took a cart on wheels, one rifle between them, and 2 walkies. Range is short, maybe half a mile. If they don't check in by sunset, we'll go look. But we're hoping we won't need to. Back here at the station, the air tastes like metal again. That usually means another fire's started somewhere east. That's where the chemical plant used to be, before a drone strike lit it up like the 4th of July and turned half the industrial park into a crater. Sometimes, if the wind's right, you can still smell melted plastic and something sharp, like acid and ash. We've taken to covering the vents at night. Cloth, duct tape, whatever we've got. The air filters went bad a long time ago, and we're rationing the last of the charcoal. We've also started burying trash, not because we're neat or hopeful, but because wild dogs have returned. Packs of them, feral and starving. They come out after dark, mostly in the suburbs, and tear through the ruins like shadows. You hear them before you see them. They howl at nothing. They tear at siding. One got into the community shelter near Alum Creek last week. Killed 2 people before someone speared it with a rusted fence post. We used to worry about drones and soldiers and bombs. Now it's dogs and infections and water that's not clean enough. The other day, a woman showed up at our gate. Early 40s, wrapped in layers of mismatched clothes, most of them torn. Her name was Clara. She came from what used to be Lancaster. Said she walked for 4 days with only a blanket, a bottle, and a book of Psalms. When we let her in, she just stood there for a minute, shaking. Said she hadn't spoken out loud in days. Said the silence on the road started to feel like it was eating her thoughts. She said something else that stuck with me. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid I wouldn't be remembered. We gave her food, warmth, a place to sleep. And now I'm remembering her, saying her name on air, because maybe that's all any of us have left now, each other's voices echoing through the dark. Let me read some notes I wrote down from the last 3 days. Weather, still dropping. We're below freezing at night now, with daytime highs in the mid-30s. No real snow yet, just ash, the kind that dusts everything like powdered bones. Some people are trying to collect rainwater in barrels, but the acidity is getting worse. Use cloth or old shirts to filter it. Multiple layers. Then boil. Food, we're down to dried beans, jerky, and the last of the vacuum-sealed rice packs. We're supplementing with cattails, bark, and whatever green we can find near the riverbanks. It's not pretty, but it keeps the stomach quiet. For now. Medical, dwindling fast. Antibiotics are gone. We're making poultices from moss and charcoal, mixing saltwater rinses for infections. If you've got honey, it helps with wounds. If you've got garlic, dry it and use it for inflammation. Radiation, still unknown. No Geiger counters anymore. We're judging based on symptoms. Nausea, teeth pain, dizziness. When those show up, we move. That's the rule. Move before you melt. Every night, I record what I know. Not because anyone told me to. Not because it'll win a war or change anything. But because truth has to go somewhere. And maybe if I put it out into the static, it'll land somewhere. In a basement, or a hidden shelter, or a dusty attic with a battery-powered radio, and a soul still breathing in the dark. And that's enough for me. I want to tell you something personal now. Something I haven't said yet. I had a sister. Her name was Meredith. She lived in Seattle. Teacher. Loved science fiction novels and hot tea and slow rainy mornings. She texted me the night before it started. Said she heard rumors. Said something big was coming. I told her to calm down. Told her to watch a movie. Go to sleep. Wait for the morning. That was the last message I ever got from her. The next day, Seattle's port was hit. No one talks about the West Coast anymore. It's like it just fell off the map. I still think about her. Wonder if she made it out. Wonder if she's listening now. Meredith, if you are, I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye properly. And I love you. If we make it through this, I'll find you. To everyone else, wherever you are, do me a favor. Say someone's name out loud today. Someone you miss. Someone you wish you could have saved. Speak their name into the silence. Don't let them vanish twice. All right, I need to conserve power. This generator's sputtering again. I'll be back tonight. Same time, same frequency. And if I don't come back, keep talking anyway. That's the rule. Keep the signal alive. This is Paul Sanders, signing off. For now. It's just past 10:22 p.m. The wind outside sounds like it's clawing at the edges of the station. I keep expecting the roof to go. Some nights, when the gusts hit right, it makes this low, hollow moan through the pipes, like the building itself is tired of holding on. If you're hearing this, I'm still alive. You're still alive. That's something. This is Paul Sanders, still speaking from 94.6 FM. The Signal. Still here in the wreckage of Columbus. Still broadcasting. Still documenting. Because if nobody says what happened, then it's like none of it ever did. And I can't let that happen. Naomi's group hasn't returned yet. They left 12 hours ago with that chalk map. We were hoping they'd find the stash that kid Tyler remembered. His dad's old supply bin. They were supposed to be back by sunset. We haven't heard a word. Kara's walkie went to static 2 hours ago. We keep calling. Nothing. I'm trying not to assume the worst. But you learn quick, out here, not to count on the return. You just prepare for it. Or bury it. Earlier, one of our runners, Jess, came back from a sweep near the old university hospital. That place is nothing but bones now. Twisted metal, collapsed hallways, smashed MRI machines, beds stripped bare. But she found something, a journal. Belonged to a medical student. His name was Julian. He wrote in it every day after the first blackout. Described how patients kept arriving with burns, tremors, strange coughs. Said the staff tried to follow protocol, but there was no power, no communication, no instructions. He wrote, "We're trained for trauma, but not for abandonment." Every day the phones ring less. Every day the halls smell worse. We've turned the chapel into a morgue. No one's prayed in there in days. Just silence and rot. And then it just ends. The last entry's cut off halfway. Maybe he was writing when it happened. Maybe someone tore the page out. We'll never know. But his words made it. Somehow. That counts for something, doesn't it? Jess also said she saw lights, far to the west, just past the freeway interchange. Not fire, not explosions, steady lights, grid pattern, maybe solar-powered, maybe a bunker. Could be nothing, could be a trap. But we're going to send scouts at first light. We have to. Because in this world, even a rumor of electricity is worth the risk. I've been getting questions from travelers, people who find this signal, pass through the city ruins, and stop long enough to talk. They ask the same thing. How did it all fall apart this fast? And I don't have a clean answer. Nobody does. It wasn't one missile. It wasn't one nation. It wasn't one spark. It was layers. Years of tension, data theft, power plays, missteps. The collapse didn't start with an explosion. It started with overconfidence and maybe arrogance. The first to fall were the satellites. Quietly. One by one. No alarms. Just silent blind spots growing in our sky. Then came the data networks. Undersea cables severed. Backbone routers scrambled. By the time we realized how many hands had been in the system, the infection had already spread. Then came the attacks. Coordinated. Surgical. Infrastructure targeted. Not people. At first, power stations. Traffic control hubs. Rail yards. Food distribution centers. Cyber first, then steel. And finally, the bombs. Not like Hiroshima. These weren't designed for spectacle. These were meant to choke, to smother. Strategic detonations meant to drive people out, not kill them outright. Just turn their homes into unlivable zones. Move them, scatter them, break their rhythm. And it worked. Governments collapsed, not with coups or tanks, but with silence. One day you wake up and there's no broadcast, no speech, no order, just you, just the road, just the cold. The last official thing I heard from Washington was some pre-recorded emergency loop about restoring order and maintaining continuity. That was 53 days ago. Haven't heard a thing since. I don't think there's a government anymore. Not like there was. Maybe there's a bunker somewhere with people in suits still pretending to be in charge. But they're not here. They're not fixing this. We are. The survivors, the scavengers, the listeners, the ones with batteries and generators and shortwave radios, the welders and the farmers and the teachers and the mothers with 6 kids and a knife tucked in their boot. We're what's left. And it has to be enough. Earlier tonight, I sat on the roof for a while, wrapped in 3 layers and a tarp, just listening. No drones, no jets. Just wind and the distant pop of something echoing through the empty streets. Might have been a car backfiring. Might have been a gun. The city feels thinner now, like its bones are showing. You can walk 5 blocks and not see another living thing. The rats are getting bolder. So are the crows. Saw one rip a plastic bag open and pull out what looked like an old shoe. Or a hand. I didn't look too long. I'm tired, but not done. Let me tell you about the boy I met yesterday. Name's Mason, 13. Came walking into camp alone, dragging a suitcase with 2 broken wheels. Said his mom told him to walk west and not look back. Said he'd been walking for 4 days. Said he saw a man shoot another man over a can of tuna. Said he just kept walking. We gave him water, food, warmth. He didn't say much, just sat next to the fire and stared. But then, later when he thought no one was listening, I heard him humming, just under his breath. Something soft, something old. I asked him what it was. He said it was a song his dad used to sing in the car. Something about stars and fireflies and being safe. And for a moment, I forgot there was a war. That's why I'm still doing this. That's why I sit here in this dark little booth, talking into the void, hoping someone out there is listening. Because for every man with a gun and a dead heart, there's a kid like Mason, humming in the dark, carrying the pieces of what we were. And maybe, just maybe, those pieces are enough. I'll end this broadcast soon. Conserve fuel. Rest my voice. But before I do, I want to say this. Don't let go of the good. Not all of it. Not yet. Don't forget what laughter sounds like, or the way coffee used to smell in the morning. Don't forget the warmth of a car heater on a cold day, the feeling of a clean shirt, a song through headphones, your name on someone else's lips. Write things down, stories, names, places. If you have a notebook, fill it. If you don't, etch it in stone. Whisper it to someone. Pass it down. Because someday, someone will look for answers, and all they'll have are the words we leave behind. So leave good ones. This is Paul Sanders, signing off for the night. Keep the fire lit. Keep the signal alive. And if you find the stars still shining above your head, thank them. It's 2:36 in the morning, and the sky is moving. Not the clouds, not a storm, the sky itself. You can't see it unless you're really looking. Just this slow, high smear of color where there shouldn't be any. Not the stars, not the moon. Something else. Something wrong. The old timers used to say the sky turned like that after a nuke. Not right away, but weeks later. Said it meant the atmosphere was still bleeding. That the blast doesn't just tear buildings, it bruises the planet. Anyway, I'm Paul Sanders. Still alive, still talking. You're tuned to 94.6 FM, The Signal. If you're out there, you're one of the lucky ones. If your radio still works, you're rarer than gold now. I haven't slept since Naomi's group left. That was yesterday morning. No word, no contact. Kara's last walkie transmission was a burst of static and something that sounded like a scream. Could have been anything. Wind, feedback. Could have been nothing. Or worse. I tried not to say anything to the others. They're already scared. One of the older women, Janet, asked me if I thought we were being punished. I asked, for what? She said, for thinking we could control everything. Then she went back to gutting potatoes we found in a collapsed cellar on State Street. I don't know what I believe anymore. Not about God, or karma, or fate. But I know this. Whatever this war was about when it started, it's not about that anymore. This is survival now. pure and simple, and survival's ugly. Let me tell you something I saw tonight. I went walking, just a few blocks out. Stupid, I know, but I couldn't sit in that room anymore, listening to nothing. So I took the hand-crank flashlight, wrapped it in cloth to muffle the beam, and walked east. The streets were bone quiet, no engines, no music, just the occasional flap of loose vinyl or the scrape of a street sign twisted by wind. And then I heard something, like metal on pavement. I killed the light, hid behind a burned-out van, waited. A group of people came around the corner, 6 of them, maybe 7. Couldn't tell. Faces covered, no uniforms, no flags, just weapons. They didn't talk, just moved, slowly, like sharks that didn't need to rush. One of them was dragging something behind him. I thought it was a sled or a cart. It was a man, alive, hands bound, face bruised, legs not working right. He was trying to speak, but they kept shoving him forward with the butt of a rifle. I stayed down, watched them disappear into the shadows near the old gas station. And I did nothing. What could I have done? You start thinking about heroism in a world like this, and all you'll do is get yourself killed. There's no cavalry, no backup, no good guys with badges. It's just you and your heartbeat and the decision you make in the moment. I'm not proud of it, but I'm here. And if I hadn't stayed down, maybe I wouldn't be. Later, I found a note taped to the window of the old diner on 8th, written in Sharpie on the back of a menu. It said, "We left this place. It's not safe. Don't stay still too long. They're watching the rooftops." That's what we're dealing with now. Not just war, not just hunger, but this creeping idea that the whole world's become a game of shadows and signals. That someone or something is always one step ahead. And maybe they are. One of our newer residents, a guy named Ellis, claims he worked in telecom. Said he used to set up secure lines for state facilities. He told me tonight that he thinks we're being mapped. Not by satellites. Those are mostly dead. But by signal pings. He said if you stay in one place too long and keep a transmitter running, eventually someone comes to shut it down. I asked him how they'd even track us without working networks. He said, "Old tech, directional antennas, Cold War stuff, doesn't need the internet, just signal strength, distance, triangulation. You keep pinging long enough and they'll find you." So now I'm wondering how long we can stay here. How long before this station becomes a beacon not for hope, but for death. But then I ask myself, what's the alternative? Silence? If we all go quiet, then what? Then the world ends for real. Not with a bang, but with nobody left to talk about it. So, I'm still here. Still burning the generator 3 hours a day. Still talking into the dark. Still holding the line. Let me give you the latest scraps of intel. I call them that because they're never complete. Just fragments, whispers, static-filled messages passed through too many mouths. Detroit is in pieces. The river caught fire. Something chemical. Something awful. Smoke cloud was visible from Toledo. Baltimore is underwater. Literally. Someone blew the dam. The whole inner harbor's flooded. Bodies floating down I-95 like driftwood. Denver is still holding. At least that's the rumor. They've fortified the airport, using old airline tunnels as bunkers. Food short, but morale's strong. Portland went dark last week. Could be grid failure. Could be worse. Haven't heard a verified signal in 9 days. Nashville is broadcasting religious sermons on loop. Nothing else. Just a voice quoting Revelation over and over. Creepy as hell, but the signal's strong. Back here in Columbus, we've got 3 working fires. 1 stove, 1 barrel, 1 open pit out back. 27 people, including 4 kids. We ration water twice daily. Meals are thin, spirits thinner. But we laugh sometimes. Tonight, someone told a joke about an IRS agent, a dentist, and a chicken all stuck in a fallout shelter. I can't remember the punchline, but it made half the room chuckle. Not because it was funny, but because we needed it to be. There's value in that. We still bury our dead. Not everyone does anymore. Some people just leave the bodies. Too much effort, too little energy. But we make the time. Say a name. Say something kind. Wrap the body if we can. Lower it down. Mark the spot. Because if we stop doing that, we're not survivors anymore. We're just scavengers with no memory. I don't want to forget who we are, or who we were. Tomorrow, we'll try to reestablish signal with anyone left in Cincinnati. Last word we got said they had a working hydro turbine on the east side. If we can make contact, maybe we can trade. Batteries, clean water, even info. But it's a long shot. Most things are now. Still, we have to try. I'm going to shut the generator down soon. Let it cool. Conserve diesel. We've got maybe 3-4 gallons left. If anyone knows where we can find more. Old farm supply, depot, mechanic's shop. Broadcast at the top of the hour. 3 short tones. Then talk. I'm listening. I'll say one more thing before I go. You are not alone. You're not forgotten. Not lost. Not unimportant. If you're alive, if you're listening, if you still remember your name, then you are part of something. Something bigger than this war. Bigger than whoever launched the first missile. You're part of what's left. And what's left still matters. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM. Keep breathing. Keep building. Keep the signal alive. I'll talk to you again at first light. It's 6:03 a.m. The sky hasn't decided what it wants to be yet, whether it'll open up with color or stay gray and flat like it has most mornings since the fallout began. We had frost last night, thick, crusted over the doors, the window slits, even the radio console. I scraped it off with a knife blade just to get the knobs turning again. You're still tuned to 94.6 FM. This is Paul Sanders, broadcasting from a concrete bunker that used to be a basement office for a local traffic station. Now it's the last working signal in central Ohio, maybe farther. If you're listening, if you're sitting with your hands wrapped around a cracked mug full of hot water, or crouched near a fire, or hiding in an attic with a crank radio to your ear, this is for you. You are not forgotten, you are not broken, and you're not alone. Naomi's group didn't come back last night. That's 2 days now. I sat here most of the night just watching the stairwell, hoping I'd hear boots on the metal, hoping I'd see Kara's coat or Naomi's braid, or even Ben's busted glasses glinting under the overhead bulb. But nothing. We sent 2 people out this morning, Ellis and Devon, armed, careful. Not to chase them, just to look. See if maybe they had to hole up. Maybe the route got too hot. Maybe they found something and couldn't carry it back all at once. You start inventing reasons like that, little excuses to keep the real thoughts at bay. But we all know what's likely. You don't get to keep everyone in a war like this, especially when no one's wearing uniforms and the rules died on day 1. We found another group last night, or they found us, I guess. 6 of them. 3 women, 2 men, 1 child, came walking into our outer perimeter just before curfew. They had a white cloth tied to a stick. Not a flag, just a t-shirt or something, held it like a lifeline. They didn't speak much English. Polish, I think. Maybe Ukrainian. The little girl translated just enough. They came from the east. Said they were in Pittsburgh when the blackout hit. Said the city went red for 3 nights straight. Then silent. Said the people in charge left before anyone knew what was happening. Same story. Different zip code. We fed them. Gave them water. Blankets. We're low, but not cruel. One of the women, older, maybe in her 50s, had a hand-drawn map rolled into her coat sleeve. It showed highways with crosses marked over them, bridges circled in red, tunnels marked with skulls. I asked her who made it. She just looked down and said one word. Children. I didn't understand what she meant at first. Thought she was saying it was for the children. But no, she meant children made it. Kids drawing maps of danger. That's where we are now. I've been thinking a lot about memory lately. How much of it we're losing each day. People dying without anyone knowing their names. Towns going dark without anyone writing down why. Families torn apart without any photo left behind to prove they ever existed. I have a journal. Hardback. Water-stained. I try to write in it every night. Just the basics. Who we lost, who arrived, what we ate, what failed, what worked. It's not poetry, it's not history, but it's something, a record. Because I don't want the last generation of this country to vanish without a trail. I don't want this collapse to be remembered only through myths and guesses. So here's today's entry, spoken instead of written. Maybe stronger this way. Day 88. Columbus still holds, barely. East side is burned out. South side's a minefield, literal and figurative. West side has a working water line, but it's full of sediment. Boil twice. Add charcoal if you can. Fuel is gone. Solar panels, wind-up radios, and hand tools are the new gold. Ammunition? Scarce. Most people carry empty guns now. Threats are currency, even if they're bluff. People still barter with canned goods. Medicine's worth more than bullets. Antibiotics are traded by the pill. A single dose can buy someone a bed. There's talk of resistance forming in the mountains, Appalachian corridor. Too far for us to reach. Too slow to confirm. But the hope alone is worth repeating. Last safe communication from the National Guard was 3 weeks ago. 127.4 megahertz. Since then, just static. If you hear the word Mirador on the emergency bands, don't respond. That's a bait signal. People have followed it and vanished. The infected zones are growing. Not biological, radiation, or chemical, or psychological. We don't even know anymore. Some places just drive people mad. No disease. Just something wrong in the air, like memories bleeding. That's all I've got for now. Except this. I remember my mother's hands, calloused, dry, smelled like lemon balm and dish soap. She used to pull me aside when storms came through and make me sit in the hallway with her until the thunder stopped. I always thought she was scared of the weather, but now I think she just needed someone to sit still with her, someone to keep her company in the dark. If you have someone near you, hold on to them. And if you don't, then hold on to my voice, even if it's all you've got, because I swear to you, I'm not done. Not yet. I'm going to stay here. In this chair. In this bunker. Behind this mic. as long as the air still flows and the wires still hum. And if this signal goes quiet, don't panic. It just means I'm fixing something, or moving something, or breathing, or grieving. But I'll come back. I always do. This is Paul Sanders. 94.6 FM, broadcasting from a broken world, for the ones still holding on. It's 8:01 p.m., and I've just finished boiling river water on the camp stove we rigged from a brake drum and a busted propane line. Took 20 minutes to get it rolling, and the taste is still off. Metallic, bitter at the back of the throat. But it's warm, and it won't kill you, and these days that's more than enough. You're still tuned to 94.6 FM. This is Paul Sanders, broadcasting as always from the ruins of what used to be the traffic station in downtown Columbus. If you're new to the signal, welcome. If you've been with me since day 1, or day 5, or day 74, I'm still here, still breathing, still burning diesel in the old generator and praying to anything that'll listen that we make it one more night. Naomi's group hasn't returned. That makes it 3 days now. Devin came back this morning, alone. He looked like hell. Dried blood on his shirt, black under his fingernails. His boots were soaked through with river sludge. Didn't speak for the first hour. Just sat in the stairwell, rocking with his eyes wide open, jaw clenched. Eventually, Ellis got him to talk. Said they found Kara. Said she was slumped behind a wrecked pickup near the church on Broad. Her walkie was smashed. Gun was gone. Looked like she bled out from the leg. Devin said he wrapped her in a coat, buried her beneath old scaffolding, marked the spot with a scrap of wood, and the letters K.E. Naomi and Ben. No sign. We don't know if they're dead, or captured, or just stuck somewhere they can't get a signal out. Hope's thin. But not zero. Not yet. I keep hearing something in my head, over and over. You don't lose them until you stop saying their names. So I'll say them again. Naomi, Kara, Ben. We haven't forgotten you. And we're not done looking. The rest of us are holding, barely. The storm last night tore the tarp off the north wall, which let in the cold and a few inches of slush. We've patched it with plastic wrap and plywood, but it's temporary. Everything is now. Nothing's built to last anymore, except the memories, and even those are starting to slip. Let me give you the latest updates from the outside. Take these with a grain of salt and a prayer, because none of it's verified. The only thing reliable these days is the rust in your lungs and the cold in your bones. Chicago's water supply has been poisoned. Rumor is, a chemical leak at a storage facility upstream dumped untreated solvents into the intake. Dozens dead. People trying to boil it and filter it through charcoal, but reports say the chemicals bond to the lipids in the blood. Once it's in you, it stays. Dallas has gone dark. That's the word from a long-wave operator out of New Mexico. Not destroyed, just blacked out. No light, no sound, no signals. Just a city-sized silence sitting out on the plain. Minneapolis is snowed under. Cold front hit hard and fast. Whiteout conditions. No visibility. People reportedly freezing to death inside their own homes, because the insulation that once kept them warm is now soaked and torn and hanging like dead skin from the walls. Charleston still broadcasts, 11:20 a.m. They're reading poetry now. Not news, not warnings, just lines of verse, spoken soft and steady. Someone with a slow voice and a warm accent. It's eerie, but also comforting. I wonder sometimes if the mind starts reaching for beauty when the body gets too tired to fight anymore, like it tries to write its own ending, something gentler than what's coming. There's a girl here named Riley, 14. Used to live in the suburbs near Gahanna. Her parents didn't make it. She doesn't talk about them. Doesn't cry either. Just works, fixes radios, strips wires, melts scrap into new shapes. She made a necklace from an old transistor coil, wears it like it's armor. Tonight, she handed me a page she tore from a burned novel, said I should read it on air. It was just a single sentence. We carry the fire, even when it flickers. I like that. I don't know what the original story was. Doesn't matter. It's ours now. The people still breathing, still stitching themselves back together with string and spit and scraps of what came before. We carry the fire, even if it's just coals in the dark. I heard something strange earlier. A sound I haven't heard in weeks. Engines, 3 of them, low, loud, synchronized, passed overhead around 3 a.m. Couldn't see anything. Sky was thick with cloud cover. No lights. But the sound, it wasn't civilian. It wasn't scavengers with motorbikes. It sounded military, heavy. But nobody's sure who's left to fly those kinds of machines. And if they are still flying, who are they flying for? We haven't seen planes in over a month. Not real ones, just drones. Low to the ground, no markings, mostly silent until they're not. A month ago, one buzzed over a convoy headed east. Didn't shoot, didn't scan, just hovered, then turned, and vanished. Some people say they're autonomous now, that whatever systems used to control them went dead, and they just fly in loops, running routines, waiting for orders that never come. Others think they're still controlled, just not by any flag we'd recognize. There's another theory, one I don't like saying out loud. Some of the older folks whisper about a breakaway state, a hidden zone, a clean zone, somewhere untouched, maybe in the Rockies, maybe under the ice. They say it's full of the wealthy, the powerful, the ones who knew this was coming and peeled away before the rest of us got the memo. I don't know. I've stopped guessing who's in control of anything, because maybe no one is. Maybe the wheel just spun off, and now the car's barreling through the dark, and we're all strapped inside hoping it hits something soft. Sometimes at night, when everyone's asleep, I come up here and just listen. Not to the radios, not to the static, just the building, the creaks, the distant knocks, the groan of wood swollen from moisture. It sounds like the world talking back, like it remembers what it used to be and is trying to warn us that it can't hold much longer. But I don't leave, because this mic is still warm, because this frequency still reaches someone. Maybe you. If you're in range, write this down. Avoid Route 23 south of Circleville. Roads washed out. Chemical spill nearby. Use lanterns sparingly. Light draws attention, not just from people, but from drones. If someone uses the phrase Unit 0 on the emergency bands, don't respond. It's a dead frequency. Anyone talking on it is either lost or lying. If you have old books, especially manuals, save them, trade them, teach them. We're going to have to relearn everything the hard way. Might as well start now. One more thing before I kill the generator for the night. If you're feeling like this is too much, I understand. If you're thinking about giving up, I won't tell you not to. I'll just say this. There's a boy here who wakes up every morning and checks the battery packs, even when it's 20 degrees, even when he's coughing from the ash, even when there's nothing new on the wire. He still checks, because something in him believes it might matter. and that's enough for me. So keep breathing, keep moving, keep hoping, even if it's only out of habit. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM. Still alive, still talking, still carrying the fire. It's 4:27 a.m., and the winds finally died down. For the first time in days, the building isn't shaking. That silence, the absence of it, makes the air feel thicker somehow, like something's about to happen, like we're all holding our breath. This is Paul Sanders. You're still with me, still listening to 94.6 FM, The Signal. I've been broadcasting for 88 days now, from this concrete box, through static, snow, and silence. If the war hasn't taken you yet, you're already rare. If you're still sane, you're priceless. Earlier tonight, the backup power tripped again, took out the heater. Took me half an hour to fix the junction and get the coil glowing red again. My fingers went numb halfway through. I'm warming them now on a tin mug full of something that used to be coffee and now just tastes like memory. Devin's back on watch. He hasn't slept much since the search. He won't say it, but I know it's guilt. He left Kara's body behind. Couldn't carry her. No way to bring her back. No one's blaming him. Not out loud. But you can feel it in the room. There's a weight that follows you when you come back with fewer people than you left with. Like you're wearing their absence on your shoulders. We had a fight in the shelter tonight. Over food. A bag of dried lentils, someone claimed. 2 people shouting, then grabbing. Someone fell. Someone screamed. It ended fast. No blows thrown, but it rattled everyone, reminded us how close we all are to breaking. I don't blame them. You get tired of being afraid, you get tired of being hungry, and then one day, something snaps. And it's not even about the food. It's about needing to feel like you still have control over something, anything, even a half-rotten bag of lentils. I stepped in. Said what I always say, that we don't tear each other apart, that we hold the line, that this signal only matters if the people on both ends are still human. I don't know if they believed me. I barely believe it anymore myself. But I said it anyway. That's the job now. Say the things that keep people upright, even when you feel like collapsing. We've been tracking new voices on the long wave, weak, fading in and out. Someone's broadcasting from southern Indiana. Sounds like a woman, maybe late 30s. Her signal's broken up, but she's repeating a phrase. 7 bridges. 1 safe. Wait for the white flare. We don't know what it means. Could be a code. Could be bait. Could be a warning. I wrote it down anyway. Because sometimes the only map you get is someone else's desperation. There's been no further contact from Naomi or Ben. I think we're past the point of pretending they're late. We've gathered what we could, blankets, notes, scraps of clothing, and we're going to build a small marker near the edge of the broadcast building. Nothing big, just something that says, "You were here. We noticed. We remember." We don't do headstones anymore. We don't have the tools or the stone, but we've started scratching initials into old license plates, hanging them on trees, on walls, on the fences outside. The world's covered in graves now. The least we can do is leave names behind. You want to know what breaks a person? It's not the bombs, not the hunger, not even the fear. It's forgetting what someone's voice sounded like, the exact shape of it, the little rise when they were about to laugh, the silence they left when they didn't. That's why I talk. Not because I think I'll win some war with words, but because I want someone, somewhere, to remember the sound of what it meant to survive. I got a message tonight, scrawled in charcoal on the back wall of an old church we've been using as storage. It just said, "The cities lied. The woods remember." I don't know who wrote it, but it feels true. There's something about nature that refuses to die on our schedule. Even now, even after everything. Trees still push through cracks. Vines still climb rebar. The birds still sing sometimes. Not as many, not as loud, but they sing. And that's a kind of defiance. I met a woman once, early in the war. Her name was Laura. She wore a jacket 3 sizes too big and carried a compass that didn't work. She told me she'd been a botanist, said she could still name every leaf, even if they were ash-covered and dying. Said she was building a seed vault in her basement using old canning jars and hope. She didn't survive the winter, but I like to think the seeds did. And maybe someday, when this is over, if there's still soil and sun and someone with steady hands, those jars will get opened and something will grow again. Something that wasn't born of war. Something green. You ever notice how quiet the world is now? Even in a city. Even surrounded by concrete and steel. There's no hum, no engines, no foot traffic, no overhead planes. Just the wind, the creak of buildings, the slow settling of dust. I miss the noise, but I'm learning to listen to the silence too. There's a message in it. It says, "Start over, but this time, do it better. We've lost too much to rebuild the same world. So maybe that's the point. Maybe what comes next shouldn't look like what came before. Maybe we don't need 50 brands of cereal or highways clogged with cars or offices full of people pretending they're okay. Maybe what we need is smaller, slower, more honest. A fire, a story, a place where your name means something again. If you're still listening, keep going. Even if it's just 1 foot in front of the other. Even if you don't know where it leads, because you might be the last person who remembers the world before. And memory, my friend, is a powerful kind of survival. This is Paul Sanders, still here, still human. 94.6 FM, The Signal. I'll talk to you again at dusk, if the power holds, if the roof stays up, if the world doesn't end a second time between now and then. Until then, hold the line. It's 8:45 p.m., and the moon is trying to shine through the haze, but it's lost in it, just a dull white smudge above the roofline. You used to be able to look up and feel small in a comforting way, like the sky was infinite and the world made sense in its scale. Now it just feels like the roof of a tomb sealed over us. If you're picking up this broadcast, this is Paul Sanders, still here, still talking, still fighting the dark with a signal and a voice. You're tuned to 94.6 FM, The Signal, coming to you from somewhere that used to be Columbus, Ohio. What it is now, I don't know. Maybe just a memory with plumbing and ghosts. We've taken on 7 new people. They came in at dawn, barely walking, eyes sunken. One of them, guy named Lucas, had a hole in his leg the size of a quarter, clean wound, no blood left, just skin trying to hold together. They walked from Wheeling, said it took them 11 days, said they passed through 4 towns, said they didn't see a single living soul in 2 of them, just shattered windows and silence and roads lined with moldy shoes. You hear that enough times, you stop asking how many bodies someone saw and start asking how many names they remember. Lucas said one word over and over again during intake. Holloway. No one knows what it means. A place? A name? A base? He wouldn't say more. Just whispered it like a prayer and clutched a plastic toy car he'd been carrying in his coat. We don't pry. Not anymore. Everyone has ghosts now, and some of them don't like to be spoken out loud. A few hours ago, we heard movement in the alley behind the station. It was too dark to see. Sounded like footsteps, steady, intentional, not shuffling, not panicked, just walking. Devin took the east window. I watched the back. No lights, no voices, just presence. Then, nothing. When we checked the next morning, there were footprints in the ash. Barefoot, 5 toes, long stride, deep impressions. Someone healthy or desperate. Either way, they didn't knock. We're used to ghosts now. Some of them still breathe. The fires are burning low tonight. We're saving wood. Temperatures dropping again, and there's talk of snow tomorrow. Not real snow, ash snow. It floats down soft but burns if it gets in your eyes. Smells like melted rubber and old plastic. You learn to sleep with a scarf on your face. Some of the new arrivals brought rumors from the east. Said someone's trying to rebuild a rail line in Pennsylvania. Said there's a group with solar-powered locomotives scavenged from an old tourism route. Said they're moving people. Quietly. Slowly. Off the roads. Through tunnels. I don't know if it's true, but I want it to be. I want to believe in a train still moving through the ruins. I want to believe that steel still sings somewhere, that tracks still carry stories instead of blood. We heard a child crying in the distance earlier, but when we searched, there was no one. Just an empty coat tied to a fence and an old cassette tape player still running, batteries blinking low. Playing a looped recording of a child's whimper. That's the 3rd time we've seen that trick. Don't follow sounds anymore. Not without backup. Not without mirrors and angles, and the knowledge that someone might be setting a stage. The scavengers have learned to hunt hope, and that's the most dangerous weapon in the world right now. Hope used as bait. We don't travel alone, not even across the street. We don't carry more than we can run with. We don't leave anything behind that can be traced. That's survival now. Still, I keep the door open a crack every night. Just in case. Just in case someone honest still finds their way through the smoke. I had a dream last night. First one I've remembered in weeks. I was standing in a grocery store. Not looting, not starving, just shopping. Fluorescent lights overhead, Muzak playing, cartwheels squeaking, and I remember thinking, it's too quiet in here. Even in my dream, the silence didn't feel right. I think that's how deep this has gone. Even the peaceful places don't feel safe anymore. Even rest feels like a trick. But I keep dreaming anyway. Because what else is there? We built a wall of mirrors outside the south perimeter. Found them in a trashed beauty salon. Some are cracked, some warped, but they catch the light at odd angles, confuse the drones, and sometimes, when the sun hits right, you can see your reflection and remember what a face looks like. That's worth something. I looked at myself today for the first time in over a week. I look older. Not tired, not sick, just older. Like time started running faster under all this gray sky. Or maybe it's just the war carving years from everyone like bark from a tree. We're keeping a record, as best we can. Jess has been sketching maps, Riley writes down recipes and treatments in a notebook she guards like gold. Devin logs weather patterns on the back of torn posters. We're building a seed of memory. So if someone survives this, if some kid stumbles on this station years from now and finds these pages, these broadcasts, these taped up drawings, they'll know we didn't go quiet. They'll know we tried. That's all you can do in a war. No one wins. Try. I'm going to cut the generator in a few minutes. Save power. We're down to 1 can of fuel and the batteries we scavenged from a delivery truck 2 blocks over. We ration everything. Heat, light, words, but never silence. That's the one thing I won't ration. Because silence is surrender. And I'm not ready to go quiet. Not yet. If you're out there, if you're somewhere near the edges of this broken map, hold your signal steady. Charge your batteries when the sun shows its face. Build antennas from coat hangers and scrap metal. Wrap your radios in cloth to keep the cold out. Tune in. Stay alive. I'll be back at dawn. Same frequency. Same promise. Until then, keep walking. Keep breathing. Keep remembering who you are. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM. Still alive. Still human. Still here. It's 5:11 a.m. The sky's the color of dried blood. No sunrise, just a dull haze rolling in from the northwest. The air smells like rust and vinegar, static in the sinuses. You taste it before you breathe it. This is Paul Sanders, still here, broadcasting from what used to be a traffic update room in a radio station no one remembers. You're listening to 94.6 FM, The Signal. If you're awake, I hope it's not because of hunger or fear, but it probably is. That's what mornings are now. Not a fresh start, just the end of another fight to stay warm and alive. I can't sleep anymore. Not well, anyway. I close my eyes and dream of sirens, except they're not dreams. They're memories. Carried over. Played back in some broken part of my brain that doesn't know how to forget. You ever notice that sound travels farther in the cold? Last night I could hear someone hammering 3 blocks away. Just tap, 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 steady as a heartbeat. Someone building something, or burying something, or barricading themselves in. Either way, it didn't stop until after midnight. We haven't seen the hammerer, but we've heard them for 3 nights now. Same rhythm, same distance, like they're marking time, or sending a message no one can read. This war has taught us to read between sounds. Whispers mean you're not supposed to hear. Screams mean you're too late. But silence? Silence is the loudest warning of all. We lost 2 people today. Not to violence, not to hunger, to cold. They were on the 3rd floor, no insulation. The vents froze over, and the little fire they had didn't hold through the night. We found them in the morning, curled around each other like parentheses. Names were Henry and Rafi, father and son. We didn't even know they were in the building until a week ago. They never spoke, just nodded, helped where they could, ate little, kept to themselves. I don't even know if they were trying to survive or just buying time. But they're gone now, and the cold took them like it always does, without noise, without mercy, without witnesses. We're down to 7 heaters for over 50 people. We rotate, 3 hours on, 3 off. Some of us just wrap in tarps and hope we don't freeze before it's our turn again. I can't feel my left thumb this morning. Just tingles. Might be frost nip. Might be nerves. Doesn't matter. I've still got a voice. Still got this mic. Still got a reason to sit here and pour it all out into the airwaves in case someone out there needs to hear another human voice. Because some nights, that's all we've got left to keep the dark from winning. I found an old recording in the archives earlier. From before the war, a traffic report. Same mic I'm using now. The voice was upbeat. Accident on I-70. Left lane blocked. Expect delays. It sounded like a relic, like something carved from bone and copper and faith. I played it twice, just to remember what normal sounded like, and then I erased it, because the world it described is gone, and I refuse to mourn ghosts when we've still got people dying every day. History is useful. Nostalgia isn't. You want to survive? Stop longing for the world that let this one fall. We had a child born last night. First in nearly a month. Girl. Mother's name is Asha. Barely 18. Father's missing. Might be dead. Might be one of the walking. We don't do hospitals anymore. Just midwives and hope. And heat, if you have it. The baby came fast, quiet, healthy, far as we can tell. We wrapped her in old towels, gave her the softest piece of cloth we had, an old Buckeyes sweatshirt from before the collapse. Red and white, faded to pink and bone. She doesn't have a name yet. I told Asha she should choose something strong, something that'll last longer than all this noise. She said she'd wait until sunrise. Some people still believe in signs. Maybe she'll name her after the first bird she hears, or the first sound of running water, or the first laugh she hears that doesn't sound afraid. God, I hope we live long enough to hear that laugh. The roof is leaking again. Every drip sounds like a countdown. Tick, tick, tick. We've got a barrel underneath it now, catching what we can. It's not clean, but it's water, and water is life, even when it tastes like rust and memory. The kids are building things again. Little sculptures from scrap, old radios, broken plates, bones. They stack them near the stairs. Totems, article offerings. I don't ask what they mean. I just let them make them. Because if there's still room for imagination, then the world hasn't won yet. Someone painted a message near the loading dock yesterday. In soot, not ink. This is not the end. This is the middle of the reckoning. I don't know who wrote it, but I won't wash it off. Because maybe that's true. Maybe this isn't the end of the world. Just the fire before the bloom. Just the breaking before the breath. Maybe someday we'll walk outside and see green again. Real green. Not moss on concrete, not mold on tarp, but grass, trees, the real kind. And maybe we won't recognize the world. And maybe that's the point. Not to rebuild what was, but to build something better from the bones. Until then, this mic is my shovel. This voice is my weapon. This frequency is my prayer. If you're out there, listening, stay warm. Wrap your feet. Breathe slow. Ration everything but your hope. I'll be here again at dusk. Same channel, same fight, same promise. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM. Still speaking, still human, still alive. It's 11:22 p.m. The night's colder than usual, the kind of cold that settles into your teeth, like it's chewing you for a change, the kind that keeps you awake just to remind you you're still alive, barely. This is Paul Sanders, and you're listening to 94.6 FM, The Signal. Still running, still scraping enough power together to make this transmission reach a few more miles past the wreckage. It's day 88 of the global war. No end in sight. Not even a pause. The sky doesn't flash like it used to. Not with missiles. Not with jets. No one's dropping bombs anymore. They're dropping silence. No commands. No evacuations. Just stillness. Like both sides ran out of things to say. So now they're letting the aftermath do the talking. And trust me, it's saying plenty. Earlier today, we received a burst transmission from somewhere near Cleveland. Just 3 words, looped over and over again. Zone red, compromised. No coordinates, no names, no distress call. Just that. Red used to mean active war zone. Hostiles, maybe chemical, maybe something worse. I shut the receiver off after the 4th loop. Some messages don't need decoding. They just need distance. We're seeing more walkers again. Not infected, just the walking hungry, the hollow-eyed, the barely there. Devon counted 11 in the last 48 hours. All moving south, most alone. One group in a line, carrying a gurney like it was sacred. Couldn't see what was on it. Probably nothing. Probably just memory. There was a kid in that group, maybe 6 or 7, wrapped in a garbage bag with armholes, holding a stick like it was a weapon or a wand. He saw me at the window, looked straight through the glass, and smiled. I haven't been right since. Not because he smiled, but because it looked real, like he still believed something good was out there. How do you carry that through all this? How do you keep something like hope alive when your whole life has been spent walking past bodies? I don't know, but I hope he never loses it. We had a breach today, not an attack, a breach of trust. Someone in our building hoarded antibiotics, found them under a false panel in the east stairwell. 7 full packs of amoxil. That's gold now. Not even metaphorically. Actual, literal trade gold. They were marked for medical use, but they never made it to the medic locker. Jess found them by accident while hiding from a coughing fit. No one's confessed. And now there's tension again. Paranoia. Side eyes. The kind of slow-burning suspicion that poisons every meal, every whisper, every plan. I gathered everyone, said what I always say, that we don't tear each other apart from the inside, that if we fall, it won't be because the war got us, it'll be because we gave up on each other. But the words don't stick like they used to. People are too tired, too cold, too hungry, too scared. And when those things stack up, morality becomes a luxury, and survival becomes a competition. I get it, but I still hate it. We've set new rules for supplies, 2-person checks, inventory twice daily. No locked doors without group approval. Feels like martial law. Feels like betrayal. But we can't afford another secret stash. We can't afford to pretend we're better than the collapse we're living through. Because we're not. Not unless we act like it. I checked the rooftop antenna today. Had to chip through ice to get to the panel. While I was up there, I saw movement in the distance, about 10 blocks out. Someone waving what looked like a white flag from the top of a parking garage. They held it for about 5 seconds, then ducked. I don't know what it means. But I know the white flag doesn't always mean surrender anymore. Sometimes it means bait. Sometimes it means trap. Sometimes it means we're dying and don't want to die alone. We're not going to investigate, not until we know more. Not until we've got a reason stronger than curiosity. curiosity these days gets you buried. Our medic, Trace, is down with a fever. Could be exhaustion. Could be infection. Could be worse. We've set up a quarantine space on the second floor, a room with no windows, 2 exits, and a cot that smells like bleach and plastic. She's not talking much, just nodding. Said one thing before she went quiet. If I don't make it, burn the gloves. That's Trace. Always thinking about cross-contamination. Always 3 steps ahead of the rest of us. We're boiling water now, burning extra candles for her, leaving her drawings on the outside of the door. She liked to sketch in the early days. Birds mostly. Ones that don't exist anymore, or maybe never did. Hope in ink form. She hasn't drawn in 2 weeks, but we leave them there anyway, because sometimes belief has to stand in for medicine. I took a call on the emergency band tonight. First live voice I've heard outside the building in days. A woman. No name. Just static and breath and urgency. Said she was transmitting from a tunnel system near Cincinnati. Said she had 3 children with her. Said they hadn't seen the sun in 9 days. I asked what she needed. She said, "Nothing. I just wanted to know I wasn't the last." Then she cut out. Didn't even say goodbye. Just click. And now I can't stop thinking about her. About the echo of her voice trapped underground, carrying kids through a concrete sarcophagus while the world burns overhead. She didn't ask for help. Didn't beg. Didn't even cry. Just needed to know the map still had someone else on it. You hearing this? You breathing? Then you matter. Then you're proof that she wasn't alone. That you aren't alone. I'll be back on air at first light, if the batteries hold. If the cold doesn't chew through our last line. If the war doesn't erase the frequency again. Until then, wrap tight. Stay near the heat. And if you've got a name, whisper it to yourself tonight. Because forgetting who you are is how the war really wins. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM. Still here, still human, still, just barely. It's 3:39 a.m. The air is dead still, like the planet took a breath and forgot to exhale. You're listening to Paul Sanders broadcasting live, well, breathing at least, on 94.6 FM, The Signal. I'm still here. That's the report. That's the miracle. That's all I've got to offer tonight. Something changed in the sky about an hour ago. I don't know if it's atmospheric distortion or fallout refracting moonlight. But the clouds have gone a sickly shade of green. Not natural green. Not forest or field. A chemical. Electric green. The color of sickness. The color of warning. The kind of color you see just before something goes very, very wrong. I watched it for a long time through the roof hatch. Just sat there and stared like an idiot. Like if I looked hard enough, it would make sense. It didn't. Nothing does anymore. We've lost contact with 3 of our outposts. Not outposts in the military sense. Just places we used to ping once a day. A shipping container colony near Dayton. A hydroponic setup out in Reynoldsburg. And the last known radio unit outside of Pittsburgh. All gone dark in the last 24 hours. No noise. No static. No return signal. We've seen this before. It doesn't mean death. Doesn't mean destruction. But it always means isolation. And that's how the collapse spreads. Not through bombs, not through fire, but through quiet. Quiet is the contagion now. and it's catching fast. We lit a beacon fire on the roof last night, an old oil drum full of broken furniture and shredded insulation. Let it burn bright, even if it made us visible, especially because it made us visible. Sometimes you have to risk being found, just to prove you still exist. We saw a flicker in the distance about 20 minutes after. Maybe a flare, maybe lightning, maybe someone else doing what we did, answering back. We don't know. But we'll burn another one tonight. We're not ready to disappear. Not yet. The baby's been named. Her name is Marin. Asha said it means of the sea. Said she wanted to name her after something that felt clean, something vast and untouchable. Said she wanted her daughter to grow up believing that something out there still moved in rhythm, even when everything here stood still. Marin cried for the first time this afternoon. Real, lungs full of life crying. And everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. You don't realize how rare that sound is now. Life asserting itself, not because of pain, not because of loss, but because it can. We needed that. Even the ones who pretend they don't feel anything anymore. I saw them stop. We've started storing letters, not emails, not printouts, letters, handwritten, folded, sealed, messages to no one or to someone they hope finds them someday. We keep them in a box labeled "When We're Gone." I read one earlier, no name on it. It said, "If you're reading this, please lie to me. Say we mattered. Say we were more than dust." I sat with that for an hour. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just held that piece of paper like it was someone's hand. Because it was. That's what we're doing here. All of us. Reaching for someone's hand through time. Trying to leave fingerprints on a world that's washing away. We got another shortwave burst from Canada, a garbled one. But a few words came through. Calgary breached. Underground migration. Southern push. AI barrier holds for now. AI barrier. That's new. Some of us are wondering if remnants of the old military networks are running on autopilot now. Defense systems triggered by algorithms, no longer governed by humans. It would explain some of the strange shutdown patterns we've seen. Entire towns blacking out. Grid sectors cutting themselves off. Drones circling, but never firing. The war may have outlived its commanders. The battlefield might just be running loops now, like a record with no arm to lift the needle. That's a special kind of horror, isn't it? A war that doesn't even know it's still at war. A machine that keeps chewing because no one told it to stop. We've spotted animals acting strange again. Rabbits walking in slow, perfect circles. A raccoon that stood in the street for 7 full minutes, staring directly at our security camera. No flinching, no blinking. Just watching. I don't know if they're sick, or if they're watching us, or if we've finally broken nature and it's trying to learn how to be something else. Either way, I don't trust it. We've closed the perimeter early tonight. No patrols past midnight. No scavenging tomorrow. Just maintenance. Food preparation. Signal sweeping. We need a day to breathe. Even in war, you need pause. Otherwise, you become part of the rhythm of destruction, and not the resistance to it. I've been thinking a lot about the beginning lately. Not of the war, but of this broadcast. The first time I sat down at this mic, I didn't think anyone would hear me. I just wanted to speak before everything fell apart. I wanted to say something before the dark came in and made it all moot. Now, we're 88 days into a broadcast no one asked for, no one funds, and no one knows how long will last. But here's the thing. You're still listening, and I'm still here, and maybe, just maybe, that's enough. I'm going to leave you tonight with the sound of our building breathing. I've patched in the hallway mic. You'll hear pipes creak, wind whistle, a baby crying, a door close, a cough. This is what survival sounds like when no one's watching. This is what we fight for. Not glory, not revenge, not flags. Just the chance to still be here when morning comes. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM. Still warm, still real, still trying. It's 6:09 a.m. The world outside looks like it's holding its breath. Not dead, not alive, just suspended. This is Paul Sanders, and you're listening to 94.6 FM, The Signal. Still transmitting from the bones of what used to be a radio station and what now functions more like a lighthouse for the lost. Last night, something moved. We don't know what it was, but it passed through the north end of the city, fast, heavy, and absolutely silent. No footsteps, no engines, just shadows that shouldn't move that way. Devin swears it wasn't human, says it was too tall, too smooth. No sound of clothing, breath, or gear. We checked the street at dawn. Ice cracked where it passed, like whatever it was brought pressure with it, like gravity shifted for a second. No tracks, just fractures. Splits in the asphalt like old scars torn open again, and we haven't seen any birds since. We usually get a few crows this time of morning, perched on wires, pecking at the remains of whatever didn't make it through the night. Not today, just sky and quiet and a creeping sense that we were seen. Something is watching us, or maybe studying us. I don't know which is worse. Inside, we've gone into seal and listen mode. Doors closed, lights off, no footsteps after dusk. Every sound inside this building is tracked on a board now. Taps, coughs, shuffles. We count them. Because if we hear one more than we expect, we'll know. We'll know something made it inside. We don't have the ammo for a fight. Hell, we don't have enough light for a warning. But we do have each other. And in this war, that's the last weapon anyone has. Trace is awake again. Her fever broke sometime around midnight. She asked what day it was. When I told her it was still day 88, she laughed. Just a little. Just enough to sound like herself. She said, "It always feels like day 88. She's right. Time is broken. Shattered. All the pieces are sharp, and none of them fit. We don't use calendars anymore. Just sunrise and sunset. Just signs. A crack in the window glass is more useful than a watch. A drop in temperature is more honest than a map." But hearing Trace laugh, even for 1 second, was the best kind of measurement. Proof that hope, like infection, can be contagious. We've updated the rules again. No one goes alone. No one eats in isolation. No one hides food, light, or warmth. The penalty isn't exile. That's barbaric. The penalty is reconnection. You break trust. You have to cook with the people you stole from. Sleep near them. Tell them why. Because punishment isn't justice. Rebuilding is. That's how we win. Not with stronger walls, but with better reasons to stay inside them. We had a new voice come through on band 7 this morning. First time that frequency's been active in over a month. The voice was low, calm, male, no name. He said, "You don't know me. I'm north of you, way north. We've got power, some water, but no more time. The winter's shifting, pushing people south. You're going to see more of them soon. Desperate ones, armed ones, maybe worse. If you've got a place, fortify it. If you've got food, bury some. If you've got faith, protect it. This isn't retreat. This is the second wave." Then he went quiet. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't repeat himself. Just dropped that message like a flare into the dark. We're acting on it, securing stairwells, hiding backup supplies under false floors, writing emergency maps by hand in case the power grid pulses again and fries everything digital. We've all started sleeping in shifts. 2 hours on, 2 hours off. No exceptions. Not even for the old. Not even for the mothers. If there is a second wave coming, we will not be taken by surprise. We will not go quietly. There's talk among the younger ones about trying to make contact with the Kentucky line. Apparently, there's still an emergency frequency broadcasting south of Lexington. Repeating a coded phrase every 7 hours, "Garden Gate is open." We don't know what that means. Could be a shelter. Could be bait. Could be a misfire from a dead repeater tower. But it's been consistent. And consistency is as good as hope in a world like this. So we're building a signal bridge. 3 boosted transmitters on a relay. If it works, we might be able to bounce a message off an old water tower near Portsmouth and reach them without stepping outside the safe zone. It's a long shot. But long shots are all we have left. One of the kids, Ivy, age 12, made a flag today. Not a national one. Not a faction one. Just a symbol. Black cloth. White stripe down the middle. 1 red dot. She pinned it to the wall near the stairwell and said, "It means we're still here, even when no one sees us." That flag means more to me than any anthem, because it was made without politics, without history, just intention, a quiet declaration from a child who refuses to vanish. Sometimes I forget what we're fighting for. And then a child makes a flag and I remember. We're not fighting to survive the world that was. We're fighting to build the one that should have been. If you're out there, if you're moving south, if you hear my voice, bring your story, bring your scars, bring your flag. Because this isn't just a broadcast. It's a ledger of the living. It's the proof we leave behind. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM, still alive, still reaching, still waiting for dawn. It's 9:01 a.m. Outside, it's snowing again, except it's not snow. It looks like ash, but finer, pale gray and slow falling, like the air's trying to forget what it used to be. If you're hearing this, you're on the right frequency. This is Paul Sanders, transmitting live from 94.6 FM, The Signal. We are on day 88 of the war. Still no ceasefire. Still no public statement. Still no name for what this has become. There are no headlines anymore. No government briefings. Just whispers. Static. And the soft drift of something falling from the sky that should not be falling. I stepped out onto the roof this morning to collect water and caught a flake on my sleeve. It dissolved instantly, not like snow, more like smoke that forgot how to rise. I don't think it's fallout. It doesn't sting the eyes or stick to the lungs like the first wave of chemical haze we got back in week 4. This feels older. Like whatever's breaking down isn't just technology. It's reality. And something in me says we're not supposed to be breathing this. Not anymore. We had a blackout 2 hours ago. Full internal failure. Batteries, inverter, even the manual crank systems. Just dead. Like the air itself choked out the charge. Devin called it a blackout with teeth. Said it felt intentional. Said the grid flinched. It came back, but slower. Dimmer. Like something let us turn the lights on again, but only as a courtesy. I don't like how that feels. I don't like the idea that the war might be watching us. Last night, the walkie buzzed. Just once. No voice. Just a tone. A pitch so high and thin, it felt like it passed through bone instead of ears. I took it off the hook. It was warm. No one had touched it for hours. I've locked it in a Faraday box until I can figure out what the hell that was. I'm not ruling out anything anymore. Not machines, not sabotage, not presence. We found a symbol burned into the side of the service elevator shaft. Not painted, not scratched, burned. A circle, split in two, a vertical line through the center. No one here recognizes it. Not military, not religious, not gang-related. But it's fresh, and it's deliberate. If someone was here, they didn't want food or shelter. They wanted to leave a message. We're changing our rotation. Guards at all 3 entrances, day and night. No one goes into the basement alone. If this war has moved into a new phase, one of quiet invasion, then we need to adapt. Because I'd rather fight in the light than be studied in the dark. News from the West. A burst signal from Indianapolis came through before the blackout. 5 words, encrypted in an old police band frequency. Wells, dry, mass movement, southeast. It's what we feared. The aquifer's gone, either drained or contaminated, and when water dies, cities follow. If Indianapolis is moving southeast, that means every small town between here and the border is going to feel it, like a pressure wave. Thousands of people, thirsty, cold, hungry, and not all of them will be asking for help. Some will take it. We've begun ration prep. Everyone gets the same, no exceptions, not even the sick. We've got 12 days of clean water left if we stretch it. 20 if we start harvesting snowmelt. 30 if we count boiling down radiator fluid. I don't want to reach that point. But this war doesn't care what I want. It just takes, and takes, and takes. Marin, the baby, is sleeping in the duct chamber now. Warmest place left in the building. Asha says her breathing is steady, but shallow, like she's dreaming something heavy. Sometimes she laughs in her sleep. It tears me up every time, because no one that small should know joy in a world this cruel. And yet, she does, which means there's still something left worth fighting for. We caught a signal bounce from Kentucky late last night. Not audio, visual. A frame. One single frame. Fuzzy, monochrome, but unmistakable. A flag, not Ivy's. A different one. Red fabric, torn, white circle. Black emblem that looks wrong. Twisted, like something copied from memory and redrawn by a child with shaking hands. Devin thinks it's a new faction. Maybe a breakaway from one of the early militias. But I think it's worse than that. I think it's a mirror. A version of what we could become if we give up on each other. If we let the war reshape us into something unrecognizable. Something efficient, violent, hollow. We're not there yet. But we're close. And I need you to hear me when I say this. Don't give in. Not to the hunger, not to the noise, not to the easy rage. You're more than what the war wants you to be. And if you forget that, you'll become part of it. Not a survivor, just another shadow on the road. Tonight we'll try the relay again. One more attempt to reach the Garden Gate signal near Lexington. If we make contact, I'll report back live. And if we don't, we'll keep broadcasting anyway. Because this mic, this voice, this heartbeat of static, it might be the only thing left that reminds someone they still exist. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. This is Paul Sanders, 94.6 FM, still here, still human, still warning, still hoping.